It is time for my seasonal roundup of my favorite books that I read this autumn. We are talking about sequels that do and don't live up to expectations, toddler parenting books, and of course, mysteries and thrillers. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm episode 286 with me, Tara Swigert. Usually here on the show, we talk about building a creative business, goal setting, confidence, mindset, and mental well-being. And for me, part of mental well-being is books and reading. So each season, I share with you my favorite books that I read over the past 3 months or so. And I have been doing this, sharing what I've been reading for the last 6 years. You can find all of the past episodes, articles, lists of my favorite books over on my blog, taraswigert.com/blog. And since January 2018, I've been sharing the monthly roundups here in the podcast. Just last summer, really, we decided that because not all of you want to read 100 plus books a year, that instead of giving you everything I read every month, I'm going to just find the best of what I read every season and share it here with you. However, I still do those monthly roundups that include everything I read, the good and the bad and the just like meh, over on my YouTube channel, and we post that on my website. So you can find that at taraswigert.com/blog. All the reading posts are together. You can click the link that says see all the reading posts, and that will include all of the monthly roundups everywhere. So you can also find more book videos from me over on my Patreon, where we talk even more about reading. The patrons get to add a book to my reading list every month or so. They get book club videos with me. This quarter we are reading Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. And I do all kinds of videos like TBRs and reading vlogs and paint with me's. So if you want to get more goodness from me and support the production of this podcast, you can go over to patreon.com/Tara Swigert. That's patreon.com/Tara Swigert. It'll be linked up below wherever you're listening to or watching this podcast. So let's dive in to my favorite books that I read from September through November 2019. I'm recording this the week before the end of the month, so I might hit on a new favorite. If so, I'll share it with you over on Instagram. I'm at Tara Swigert on Instagram. But this is what I loved so far this quarter. So I've kind of split this up by category. Last summer, in our summer favorite books of summer episode, which I'll link up in the show notes, I had tons of favorite books. I had sci-fi and mystery. I had favorite graphic novel. But this month, not so much. I didn't have so many favorites. But let's start by looking at the stats. So in the last 3 months, I read 21 books. 9 of them were thrillers or suspense novels. 3 were nonfiction books. 6 books were in 3 different series. So they weren't the first book of the series. They were later on in the series. And I read fewer books this season than I did over the summer, in part because I've been super inspired by my work and I'm working more hours and escaping less into reading, and in part because I've just had more disappointing books. And you know, when you're not super into a book, it's hard to pick it up, or really kind of hard to decide. I usually waste some reading time trying to decide if I want to keep reading it or I want to give up on it and read something else. And so y'all know I am totally fine with quitting a book no matter where I am in it if I'm not excited to read it. So let's focus on what I did absolutely love. I completely continued to love the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. In the summer, I talked about book 1 in the series, and then this season I read books 2 and 3, which were Down Among the Sticks and Bones and Beneath the Sugar Sky, both by Seanan McGuire, both very slim little books that I guess could be YA. They're kind of dark, about children who find doors into portals into worlds where they belong better, and then they are sent back to our world where they are rather unhappy. So Down Among the Sticks and Bones actually followed Jack and Jill into the world where they went. So the first book was them coming back to a school. The second book was kind of their past when they went into the world. And Beneath the Sugar Sky is an adventure tale in a world that is like Candyland. It is fun and bright. Down Among the Sticks and Bones was a little dark. Beneath the Sugar Sky has some darkness, but also some light, fluffy, candy-coated colorfulness, which I loved. It's my favorite parenting book, I think, of this entire year. Y'all know I've been a parent since last October when we became a foster parent. I've had 5 different kids, not all at the same time. And I've read a lot of books about a lot of things, from baby feeding to sleep training to gentle parenting to French parenting and German parenting. But my favorite book so far has been Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler by Jamie Galwacki. This book is by far the closest to my own parenting style and that of me and my husband, more than any other book I've read. And it's because the philosophy is that every kid requires something different from you, and your parenting philosophy flies out the window when confronted with a real live child. And it's specifically about what she calls the crazy awesome years of being a toddler. And we got our first toddler, a 2-year-old, in last December. She went home in April, and then we got 2 toddlers, a 2- and 3-year-old, in the end of May, and they just went home at the end of November. So I have had some crazy awesome times with some crazy awesome toddlers. Their brains are just exploding. They're learning so many things, learning how to relate to them and stay calm while they go through their whiniest stage of their whole life, and also doing potty training and bedtime training, all of that. This book just perfectly lined up with kind of how we approach it. So she really advocates for treating the children with respect and just letting natural consequences play out, as opposed to arguing because you know you're right. So we practiced that a lot, and it seemed to work well. I think both of us would say we've had a really good time with the toddlers. It's overwhelming and exhausting sometimes, but also crazy and awesome. So the series that was my favorite series in the summer, it continues to be my favorite series, and that's the Inspector Gamache mystery series by Louise Penny. I read book 3 and 4 this season, and I loved it. I'm about to start on book 5, and they are just detailed, richly described food and place in this beautiful little village outside of Montreal in Canada. And the amazing Inspector Gamache, he is kind, he is thoughtful, he does inspecting by paying more attention to emotions and feelings and what is said, and just the entire philosophy and feel of the books is like snuggling under a blanket. It's a perfect thing to read in the fall. So I am still loving that series by Louise Penny. Those are probably my favorite books I read this season, were books 3 and 4 in the series. So I mentioned over the summer in episode 275, which will be linked up in the show notes, that I really loved Riley Sager's Lock Every Door and Peter Swanson's Before She Knew Him, and that I plan to read more of their books. Those are both their newest books published this year, and I wanted to see if their past books lived up to their newest books. And I just wanted to tell you, not so much. I really liked Riley Sager's previous 2 books. One is set at camp. It's very creepy. It's called Last Time I Lied. And then his newer book was called Final Girls, about, I think I might have talked about that in the last episode. Those were both okay. Not as amazing as Lock Every Door, but quite good. As for Peter Swanson's other books, nah, like they were okay. I realize he really has a thing for women who are into murdering, so hopefully that doesn't spoil his other books. It's why I liked Before She Knew Him so well. It really showed what it would be like to be someone who had had a mental breakdown, and then something creepy is actually happening, but people don't believe you because of your previous breakdown, your previous mental health issues. The book Her Every Fear is also a little bit like that, and it's the one I like best of his past books. It's a little bit about not just people who are broken and are murderous, but people who have had something happen in their past that makes them not as trustworthy a narrator, and how the people around them react to that, I think is super interesting, and I don't see a lot of mystery authors do that. So they were okay. I wouldn't recommend their older books as much as I recommend their new books. I just kind of wanted to give you that update. I've also been reading the backlist of Megan Abbott, and I've been loving everything of hers. I will read absolutely everything. Her first couple books were noir, which I'm just not into, but her more recent modern literary fiction mysteries are amazing. So I completely recommend all of her books. I read several of them this quarter, and I loved it. There was one book this season that I absolutely was completely surprised by. I did not know what it was going to be about. I had heard good things and then I really loved it. And that is Fleischman is in Trouble by Daphne Ackner Brodesser. It is one of the few contemporary literary fiction novels I read this season and I really, really loved it. Daphne Ackner Brodesser, the author, she was a person who did profiles for magazines, so profiles of famous actors and actresses. And did you just hear you sneeze? So the author, I'm going to go back after I said I love Fleischman in Trouble. So the author, Daphne Ackner Brodesser, is someone who writes profiles of actresses and the rich and famous in magazines like GQ and Vogue and Vanity Fair. And so she has a very good eye for how people think they're presenting themselves and also for describing how somebody is acting in the moment and what they're doing. And she really gets inside the head of Fleischman, this fellow who has gone through a divorce, and you are hearing the story of his missing wife from his perspective. And after a while, I was like, why am I listening to this guy's thoughts? And it is because of something that is right there in the text that several people say throughout the book, which is a woman's story never gets told unless it's through the perspective of the men that she affects. And that is so true across history, that we tell the stories of women through the men that they impact. We talk about the men and then the women are just the add-on, and this book plays with that in a really interesting way, and it is engaging. It was easy for me to read. I kept reading. It wasn't one of those literary novels that just was like a slog to get through. It was super fun. So even though it has this like deeper point, it is still super fun and good, and there is a mystery that unravels that is great. So as usual, a lot of my favorite books came from the Book of the Month Club. I have a link to that if you want to check out the Book of the Month Club. I will get, I think, a free book or a little bit off of my next Book of the Month Club order. They're super affordable ways to get new hardbacks. And you can also join my patrons in getting extra book content like the new book club that we're going to discuss both in November and December. We're going to have 2 live chats about it. So if you enjoyed this, you'll probably enjoy that. You can go to patreon.com/TaraSwigert to join us there. You can also leave a review on iTunes. It helps other people find the show, or give the video a thumbs up on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a fabulous Thanksgiving week, and I hope you have some time to dive into a good book.